Welcome to Echo Shade, where history whispers its darkest secrets and forgotten stories.
The arena stretches beyond perception, yet every corner, every challenge, and every interaction carries the weight of history. Squid Game is more than a survival contest. It is a reflection of centuries of monarchy, hierarchy, and human behavior under absolute authority. The seemingly chaotic events are orchestrated with precision, echoing the structural genius of royal courts where life, obedience, and power intertwined in subtle, often brutal, ways. The game compresses generations of strategy, cruelty, and hierarchy into a microcosm where rules dictate survival. Loyalty is tested at every turn, and unseen powers manipulate outcomes with an efficiency honed over centuries. 1. The players are subjects of a miniature monarchy. The participants are not merely contestants. They are subjects of a controlled society. From the moment they enter the arena, their autonomy is limited, their choices constrained, and their movements scrutinized. This mirrors historical realities where citizens, soldiers, and servants were bound by the authority of kings, queens, and nobles. In the Ottoman Empire, palace subjects navigated a rigid hierarchy where deviation invited punishment. In France, commoners operated under tax obligations and social protocols designed to maintain royal dominance. In Edo, Japan, samurai and retainers existed within strict societal structures enforced through ritualized obedience. Within the arena, the players are microcosmic analogues to these subjects. Every action is observed, every choice carries consequence, and every alliance reflects centuries-old lessons in survival, loyalty, and betrayal. 2. The role of fear. Psychological manipulation across centuries. Fear has always been a tool of control. Monarchs, emperors, and royal families used fear to ensure obedience and compliance. The arena amplifies this principle, transforming the game into a laboratory of human psychology. Historical courts relied on visible and invisible threats, public punishments, hidden executioners, and secret decrees. The uncertainty of the unknown magnified the power of rulers. Similarly, the Squid Game players are conditioned by fear. The constant possibility of death sharpens focus, tests loyalty, and accelerates behavioral adaptation. The VIP and the frontman mirror the role of historical overseers. They observe silently, enforce rules, and remain largely anonymous. Their power is psychological as much as it is physical, an echo of centuries of strategic authority where control relied on perception rather than brute force. 3. The hierarchy of gods. Echoes of palace militaries. The geometric hierarchy of the gods reflects ancient royal military structures. Circles, triangles, and squares denote rank, responsibility, and authority, a symbolic language with historical roots. In Europe, royal guards were meticulously categorized to ensure the protection of the monarch while maintaining strict control over internal security. In Asia, palace armies were trained not just for defense, but for enforcement of courtly discipline. The shapes in Squid Game uniforms echo this centuries-old visual communication, subtly reinforcing obedience and hierarchy. Each god, while appearing identical, occupies a distinct role. Their function mirrors the silent precision of palace regiments, where deviation or misstep could destabilize the entire hierarchy. The player's perception of authority, though masked and anonymous, is grounded in these historically informed structures. Moves. 4. The VIP. Modern royals and the spectacle of power. The VIP's detachment from the arena mirrors historical aristocratic voyeurism. Royals observed suffering and competition as entertainment and as reinforcement of their societal dominance. From the Colosseum in Rome to Versailles in France, elites watched human trials and contests, enjoying the illusion of fairness while maintaining ultimate control. The same principle underlies the VIP in Squid Game. They are insulated from consequence, entertained by survival and death alike, and empowered by the psychological distance between observer and observed. The golden masks amplify this detachment. They symbolize authority, anonymity, and the psychological superiority of the elite. History demonstrates that such detachment, whether through masks, balconies, or secret chambers, magnifies the perception of power and reinforces hierarchy. 5. Strategic thinking. Lessons from royal intrigue players must navigate alliances, predict betrayals, and make decisions under extreme pressure. This mirrors centuries of royal intrigue where success depended not on physical strength alone, but on strategy, diplomacy, and perception. Consider the Byzantine Empire, where advisors manipulated rulers and siblings plotted succession. In the Mughal court, loyalty and cunning determined survival and influence. In France, court politics demanded constant vigilance, adaptability, and mastery of social codes. In Squid Game, these lessons are distilled into tangible challenges. Players' survival hinges on their ability to understand human behavior, anticipate deception, and act decisively, reflecting the very same skills that historically determined life and death in royal environments. 6. The games. Ritualized trials of hierarchy. Each challenge in the arena parallels historical tests of loyalty, skill, and endurance used by monarchs. Red light, green light mirrors military drills and obedience tests, where a single misstep could cost life. Honeycomb challenge reflects ceremonial trials where precision, patience, and risk assessment determined favor or punishment. Glass stepping stones symbolizes calculated risk, taking in succession disputes, political maneuvering, and territorial defense. The design of these challenges is psychologically precise. They test obedience, collaboration, risk perception, and moral decision-making. Historical monarchs employed similar strategies over lifetimes. The arena compresses centuries of social conditioning into high-stakes moments. 7. Debt and survival. Tribute systems reimagine debt as the entry point into the game. Historically, economic obligations maintain social hierarchies, reinforcing the dominance of rulers over subjects. In the Ottoman Empire, tribute sustained the Sultan's authority. In medieval Europe, taxes bound peasants to lords indefinitely. In East Asia, labor obligations kept populations under strict control. The arena mirrors this dynamic. Players are trapped by financial obligation, forced to navigate structures designed to exploit desperation. Their dependence on survival mirrors centuries of systemic control, where debt, obligation, and obligation-shaped psychology maintained hierarchies and power structures. 8. Death as a tool. Historical parallels in royal history. Death was not only punishment, but spectacle and strategy. Public executions, gladiatorial contests, and duels reinforced obedience in hierarchy. The arena replicates these dynamics. Every elimination is a lesson, a spectacle, and a reinforcement of power. Survival depends on skill, insight, and awareness, as it did historically in courts where a miscalculated word or action could mean death. The player's experience in condensed form, what subjects endured over lifetimes under monarchs, fear, observation, and the necessity to navigate lethal social and political structures. 9. The front man. Hidden authority personified. The front man embodies historical archetypes: the regent, the executioner, the invisible power behind the throne. Rasputin influenced Russian royalty from the shadows. Cardinal Richelieu managed France's power behind Louis XIII. Queen Mother Cixi ruled the Qing Empire from concealed positions. The front man enforces rules, controls the hierarchy, and ensures compliance, acting as the invisible hand of authority. Players' fate is dictated not by the VIP's immediate presence, but by his execution of authority. a timeless reflection of royal systems that valued obedience to intermediaries more than direct engagement with monarchs. 10. Survival and adaptability. The ultimate test of royal skill, the winners in the game, like historical courtiers and heirs, survive not because of brute strength or innocence, but because of adaptability, strategy, and understanding of human behavior. Historical parallels are clear. Heirs who read alliances and betrayals lived. Courtiers who navigated complex social systems thrived. Soldiers who understood command and observation survived wars. In Squid Game, this skill manifests in alliances, risk assessment, and psychological insight. The ultimate prize is survival and the illusion of power, echoing historical lessons that freedom was rarely granted and power was always earned through strategy and cunning. 11. The moral ambiguity. History reflected the arena, like historical courts, thrives on moral ambiguity. Loyalty, betrayal, mercy, and cruelty coexist, forcing participants to make impossible decisions. This mirrors the reality of monarchy. Subjects navigated systems where moral clarity was often absent, and survival required pragmatic choices. The game's challenges compress centuries of ethical complexity into visible, high-stakes scenarios, demonstrating that human behavior under authority is timelessly complex. The arena has become more than a battlefield. It is a crucible of human behavior, distilled from centuries of power, hierarchy, and royal influence. Every challenge, every rule, and every decision embodies patterns established by empires long gone. Players are microcosms of society, and the arena mirrors the structures of kingdoms and dynasties where survival depended on intelligence, loyalty, and psychological acuity. The weight of observation. Legacy of hidden authority. Observation is power. In monarchies across continents, rulers and their proxies observed subjects to maintain control. Secret passages, balconies, and watchtowers ensured the elite could monitor behavior while remaining concealed. The mere possibility of being watched conditioned obedience, loyalty, and fear. In Squid Game, the VIP and the front man serve the same function. Their gaze is omnipresent yet distant, echoing the psychological control monarchs exercised over courtiers and subjects. Awareness of observation compels players to perform, strategize, and conform, an ancient principle applied in a modern lethal arena. 2. Hierarchy and discipline. The invisible chains, the geometric hierarchy of guards mirrors royal militaries and palace structures. Each rank, each role, and each symbol communicates authority and enforces obedience. Throughout history, palace armies, court officials, and personal guards were meticulously organized to prevent chaos and ensure loyalty. The visual distinctions in Squid Game uniforms, circles, triangles, squares, are not mere design choices. They are coded messages, subtly guiding behavior and reinforcing hierarchy. Players are constrained not just physically but psychologically. Their understanding of authority, risk, and consequence is constantly tested. A reflection of centuries of hierarchical conditioning in empires worldwide. 3. The games as allegory. Survival, strategy, and betrayal. Every Squid Game challenge is allegorical. They are distilled exercises in human behavior, replicating historical trials of loyalty, strategy, and risk. Red light, green light, obedience under scrutiny, mirroring military drills and societal compliance tests. Honeycomb challenge, precision and patience under pressure, akin to ceremonial tasks or initiation rituals in royal courts. Glass stepping stones, calculated risk-taking and trust, reflecting succession disputes and political maneuvering in dynasties. These challenges condense centuries of historical methods for testing obedience, courage, and adaptability into immediate, tangible trials. History repeats itself in every choice, betrayal, and calculated move. 4. Debt and power. The modern tribute system debt is a modern metaphor for historical tribute systems. Across empires, citizens, soldiers, and servants were bound to authority through obligations they could rarely escape. The Mughal Empire, Qing dynasty, European feudal systems, and Ottoman governance all relied on binding subjects to obligations, financial, labor, or political, ensuring compliance and control. In the arena, debt traps players psychologically, ensuring that they participate willingly while remaining controlled. Financial desperation becomes a tool, echoing the historical reality of subjects bound by tribute, tax, and systemic inequality. 5. The role of death. A historical constant, death has always been a tool of power. Monarchs used executions, duels, and lethal trials as instruments of control and spectacle. These methods communicated authority, instilled fear, and maintained social hierarchies. The arena reflects this principle. Each elimination is strategic, observed, and amplified, reinforcing hierarchy and psychological dominance. The stakes are absolute, mirroring the historical reality where a single misstep could cost life, privilege, or status. Squid Game distills centuries of human experience under authority into rapid, brutal lessons on obedience, survival, and hierarchy. 6. The front man, the archetype of hidden power. The front man embodies the timeless archetype of shadow authority. Across empires, regents, executioners, and advisors held immense power behind the visible ruler. Rasputin influenced Russian policy from secrecy. Cardinal Richelieu directed France's administration from behind the king. Queen Mother Cixi controlled the Qing dynasty while remaining hidden from the public eye. Similarly, the frontman executes authority, enforces hierarchy, and ensures compliance. Players interact with him indirectly, yet their survival depends entirely on his judgment, reflecting historical systems where invisible power dictated life and death. 7. The winners. Lessons in adaptability and intelligence. Victory in the arena does not reward brute strength or innocence. It rewards adaptability, intelligence, and mastery of human behavior, the same traits that historically ensured survival in royal courts. Survivors in monarchies navigated shifting alliances, political intrigue, and hierarchical pressures. Courtiers and heirs learn to predict behavior, manipulate alliances, and leverage opportunities. Players mirror these historical archetypes. Their victories depend on insight, strategy, and emotional control, not luck. The prize money is symbolic, echoing historical illusions of power, wealth, and autonomy. True freedom remains constrained, just as historical subjects experienced temporary favor without genuine liberation. 8. Psychological trauma. A century of lessons in condensed form. The arena compresses a lifetime of psychological stress into weeks. Players endure fear, betrayal, and moral conflict, paralleling centuries of subjects under monarchic control. Historical subjects were conditioned through uncertainty, hierarchy, and observation. Their mental resilience, social intelligence, and adaptability were tested continuously. The arena magnifies these dynamics, producing survivors who are psychologically transformed, echoing the long-term effects of life under monarchy. Trauma becomes a currency of control, a lesson both ancient and modern. 9. Moral ambiguity. The cost of survival. The game presents impossible ethical decisions, reflecting the moral complexity of history. Loyalty, betrayal, empathy, and self-interest collide in high-stakes scenarios. Historical subjects navigated the same complexity. Obedience might save life, betrayal might secure status, and mercy could invite disaster. Squid Game condenses these centuries of moral ambiguity, teaching that survival is rarely aligned with morality, and power is always entwined with ethical compromise. 10. The eternal cycle. history repeated at its core. Squid Game is history rendered in neon light and concrete. Its rules, hierarchies, and psychology reflect timeless principles of human society under monarchy. Observation enforces compliance, hierarchy structures behavior, alliances, and betrayal. Determines survival, spectacle reinforces authority. Debt ensures obedience. Psychological conditioning shapes action, players' victories, failures, and decisions echo centuries of historical patterns. The arena becomes a mirror for human behavior, revealing enduring truths about power, control, and survival. History has always been a game of hierarchy, strategy, and survival. Squid Game merely accelerates the cycle, compressing centuries into days, alliances into hours, and decisions into moments of life or death. The game ends, the players disperse, but the principles endure. Power adapts, hierarchy persists, and human nature remains constant, whether under the gaze of a golden-masked VIP or a monarch long vanished from history. The arena is not just a place of survival. It is a microcosm of society, monarchy, and human nature. Every decision, alliance, and betrayal mirrors centuries of governance, hierarchy, and strategy. The players are actors in a living experiment where history, psychology, and power converge to create an unforgiving reality. Unlike earlier parts, this section dives even deeper into hidden meaning, symbolism, and the unseen historical mechanics behind every element of Squid Game. 1. The symbolism of numbers. Hidden codes of power. Numbers have always been powerful tools of control in monarchies and secret societies. Kings, emperors, and religious authorities used numbers to structure society, codify laws, and enforce hierarchy. In Europe, numerology dictated royal ceremonies, succession orders, and tax obligations. In Asia, the number 9 often symbolized perfection and authority, influencing palace architecture and rituals. Even in secret royal councils, numerical codes were used to designate rank, alliances, and privileges. In Squid Game, numbers replace names, stripping identity and reducing humans to measurable units. This is not just dehumanization. It is a reflection of centuries-old techniques where rulers codified subjects into controllable categories. So, to controllable categories, identity becomes irrelevant. Survival depends on strategy, awareness, and obedience. 2. Psychological warfare. Ancient lessons repackage the psychological mechanisms in the arena echo centuries of mental conditioning employed by monarchs. Isolation. Royal heirs were often secluded to prevent influence and enforce obedience. Competition. Courts staged contests to test loyalty, intelligence, and adaptability. Reward and punishment, favor or exile determined behavior, much like the game's monetary incentives. Every game is designed to trigger primal instincts, fear, trust, betrayal, and moral compromise. These mechanisms mirror historical systems where mental acuity and emotional intelligence determine survival and advancement. Squid Game compresses this lifelong conditioning into days of extreme challenge. 3. The front man and VIP. Power hidden in plain sight, the front man is more than a character. He is a symbol of shadow authority. Historically, intermediaries wielded true power while monarchs remained ceremonial or symbolic. Rasputin in Russia influenced policies from behind the throne. Cardinal Richelieu managed France's political machine while Louis XIII ruled nominally. Eunuchs in Chinese dynasties controlled access, information, and execution within imperial courts. The VIP mirror the untouchable elites, omnipotent, unseen, and insulated. Their enjoyment of suffering is not mere sadism. It is a reenactment of historical dynamics of power and control, adapted for a modern audience and narrative. 4. Survival strategies. Historical archetypes winners are not simply lucky. Their survival mirrors historical archetypes of cunning, adaptability, and observation. The diplomat. aligns with others temporarily, adapts to shifting alliances, and survives by reading human behavior. The strategist calculates risk meticulously, mirrors heirs who navigated succession battles. The survivor balances morality with pragmatism, reminiscent of courtiers who survived purges and intrigue. Historical empires show that these traits often mattered more than strength or birthright. The arena condenses this reality. Centuries of learned survival instincts are tested in a high-stakes, accelerated environment. 5. Betrayal as a historical constant. Betrayal is not random. It is systemic. Royal history is filled with strategic betrayals. Byzantine court intrigue forced nobles to betray allies to survive. Ottoman succession rituals demanded fratricide to secure power. European monarchs orchestrated marriages, alliances, and poisonings to maintain dominance. In the game, betrayal is inevitable. Players' survival depends on predicting, adapting, and sometimes committing betrayal. This mirrors the ethical and strategic compromises demanded by historical hierarchies. 6. Childhood games. Innocence masking brutality. Squid Game disguises extreme violence within the structure of childhood games, a technique historically used to normalize obedience and mask cruelty. European festivals incorporated dangerous trials for peasants. Samurai initiation rituals tested loyalty and skill under the guise of sport. Mughal emperors staged competitions disguised as entertainment but enforced obedience. By wrapping lethality in innocence, the game amplifies psychological trauma, a tactic rooted in royal history. The contrast between play and death forces players to confront vulnerability, manipulation, and human nature simultaneously. 7. Debt as symbolic control. Debt in Squid Game is a modern allegory for historical obligations. Taxes, tributes, and labor obligations bound citizens across centuries. Monetary debts today mirror historical social contracts designed to control populations. Players' willingness to enter life-threatening games for money reflects centuries of systemic dependency. This reinforces the idea: control is most effective when subjects willingly participate, a timeless lesson in governance and hierarchy. 8. The arena as a royal court microcosm. Every corner of the arena reflects historical court systems. Rules enforce obedience, alliances mimic political hierarchies, observation maintains control, violence ensures compliance. The arena becomes a palace without a throne, a kingdom without a ruler. A structure where participants experience history condensed into brutal, high-stakes reality. 9. Moral ambiguity. The human condition under authority. The game forces moral compromise, echoing historical court realities. Loyalty may demand betrayal, compassion may invite personal loss, pragmatism may override morality. This moral ambiguity is timeless. From European courts to Asian dynasties, survival required compromise. Squid Game compresses this dynamic into an emotionally visceral experience, revealing that human behavior under authority is predictable, adaptive, and morally complex. 10. The legacy. Why Squid Game endures. Squid Game resonates globally because it reflects universal truths. Hierarchy persists across cultures and centuries. Power operates through fear. Observation and obedience. Human behavior under stress reveals timeless patterns. Survival requires strategy, adaptability, and moral compromise. The game is both modern and historical, fictional and real. Its lessons echo centuries of monarchy, hierarchy, and human psychology. The player's struggles, triumphs, and failures mirror the eternal dynamics of power, loyalty, and survival. Squid Game is a neon-lit palace, a contemporary dynasty, a brutal allegory, proving that history never truly ends. It merely takes new forms, new arenas, and new players.